Welcome to 21st Sports Recap and Reaction for the Philadelphia Eagles at the Washington Redskins in their Week 4 matchup played October 4th, 2015. We're going to go over the scores and we're going to go over the stats and we're going to give our breakdown and analysis. Let's get started in the first quarter. About midway through, Dustin Hopkins hit a 20-yard field goal to put the Redskins on the board first with a score 3-0 Washington over Philadelphia. Then with less than a minute left, still in the first, Dustin Hopkins hit a 38-yard field goal, and it was now 6-0 as the Redskins extended their lead before the end of the first quarter. Then in the second quarter, with about 5 minutes left, a little over 5 minutes left before halftime, Kirk Cousins punched it in from a yard out, and that was the first touchdown of the game. Hopkins added the extra point, and it was now 13-0 as the Redskins extended their lead over the Eagles. That would remain the score heading into the locker rooms at halftime, and in the third quarter, the Eagles finally got on the scoreboard a little over 3 minutes into the third quarter as Sam Bradford aired it out. He hit Riley Cooper for a 62-yard touchdown. Sturgis attempted the extra point, but it was no good, and so it was 13-6 as the Eagles cut the Redskins' lead to 7. Then a few minutes later, with about a little over 8 minutes still left in the third, Sam Bradford hit Brent Selleck for a 10-yard touchdown. This time Sturgis hit the extra point, and this game was tied at 13 apiece. But then, with less than 4 minutes left in the third, Hopkins got his third field goal of the game for the Redskins. This one a 33-yarder, and it was a 3-point lead for the Redskins now with the score 16-13 Washington over Philadelphia after 3 quarters of play. So then in the fourth quarter, just 20 seconds in, Sam Bradford hits Miles Austin on a 39-yard touchdown. The extra point by Sturgis was good, and now the Eagles were in the lead for the first time in this game, up by 4 with the score Philadelphia 20, Washington 16. The Redskins, after trading punts back and forth, the Redskins would get the ball, and they would end up going at about 6 minutes left, and they went 90 yards in 15 plays, capped off by a 4-yard touchdown pass by Kirk Cousins to Pierre Garcon. Hopkins hits the extra point, and the Redskins were up by 3 with the score 23-20, Washington over Philadelphia. There was about a half a minute left on the clock, and so the Eagles would get the ball after the touchback. They had it on their own 20, and on first down they picked up 7 yards as Bradford hit Ertz. So now 2nd and 3 from the 27, and Murphy sacks Bradford for a 7-yard loss. That brought 3rd and 10 from the 20, and now Kerrigan would sack Bradford for a 6-yard loss. So now it's 4th and 16 from the 14 as they burned their last time out for Philadelphia with just 10 seconds left on the clock. Bradford then passes to Matthews. He laterals to Aguilar. Then a fumble recovered by Murphy, and this game came to a close as the Redskins, leading most of the game, pull off a comeback victory in the final 6 minutes as Kirk Cousins leads them on that long, 90-yard drive. What an impressive performance at the end of this game by Kirk Cousins to pull off this victory. And now the Redskins are at 2-2, 2-1 at home, and the Eagles fall to 1-3, 1-2 on the road. So 23-20, the Redskins win in a thriller. It really came down to the wire. Exciting game. So the Redskins were in control for the most part, but then coming out of the locker rooms at halftime, the Eagles were fired up. They made some adjustments. They scored 13 points in the third quarter. They scored the 2 touchdowns. Of course, they had that extra point that was missed, and that's why it was 13, not 14. They scored that other touchdown just seconds into the fourth quarter, as they really were on a roll during that period. But the Redskins, they hunkered down. Their defense was able to stop them for the remainder of the quarter, forcing them to punt the ball as both teams were punting back and forth, and then that drive by Cousins at the end as he comes up clutch. And that was his only touchdown pass of the game, came when they needed it the most with less than half a minute left as they scored that go-ahead touchdown that would be the winner. And in this game, Kirk Cousins was 31 for 46, 290 passing yards, 1 touchdown, no interceptions. Sam Bradford was 15 for 28, 270 yards and 3 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, as both quarterbacks were protecting the ball pretty well. Alfred Morris was the game's leading rusher with 17 carries for 62 yards. Thompson had 6 carries for 53 yards. Jones had 7 carries for 11 yards. And for the Eagles, DeMarco Murray, 8 carries for 36 yards. Ryan Matthews, just 5 carries for 20 yards. Sproles, 4 carries for 17 yards. Bradford actually had 1 carry for 14 yards. And the leading receiver in the game was Riley Cooper with 2 receptions for 72 yards, including that 62-yard touchdown. And for the Redskins, Crowder, he had 7 receptions for 65 yards. Pierre Garcon, 7 receptions for 55 yards, including a touchdown. Grant, 5 receptions for 45 yards. Ross, 1 reception for 43 yards. Jordan Reed, 5 receptions for 37 yards. Thompson had 2 receptions for 24 yards to go with his 53 yards rushing to give him 77 total yards on the game. Morris also had 2 receptions for 3 yards to go with his 62 yards rushing to give him 65 total yards. And for the Eagles, Nelson Aguilar had 3 receptions for 64 yards. Miles Austin, 2 receptions for 51 yards and a touchdown. Jordan Matthews, 3 receptions for 50 yards. DeMarco Murray had 2 receptions for 12 yards to go with his 36 rushing yards to give him a total of 48 yards in this game. And of course, as I said, Cooper had the 72 yards off of 2 catches, including the touchdown. We saw some fumbles, though, in this game as Aguilar fumbled the ball, Matthews fumbled the ball, Reed had fumbled the ball as well. Cousins had fumbled, but he recovered his own fumble. And on the kicking end, Hopkins was perfect, 3 for 3 on the field goals, 2 for 2 on the extra points. Sturgis, though, on the other side, he missed an extra point. He was 2 for 3, and he also missed the only field goal that he attempted, as he was 0 for 1. Let me look at the defense. And for the Redskins, their leading tackler was Compton with 5 tackles. Kerrigan had a sack. Smith had a sack. Baker had 2 sacks. Murphy had a sack as well. And we look over for the Eagles. Jenkins had 7 tackles. Graham had 6 tackles, a sack, and a forced fumble. And we look at the team stats. The Redskins had 25 first downs, almost twice as many as the Eagles, who had just 14 first downs. And the same, we look at the third down conversions. The Redskins had 9 third downs that they converted, more than twice as many as the Eagles, who only converted 4. The Redskins were 9 of 17 on third down for a 52% conversion rate, whereas the Eagles just 4 of 12, converting only 33%. They also went for it once on fourth down at the end of the game. They did not convert. So then we look at total net yards, 417 for Washington, 320 for Philadelphia. Total net rushing yards, 127 for Washington, 87 for Philadelphia. Net passing yards, 290 for the Redskins. Cousins was sacked once but did not lose any yards. And for Philadelphia, 233, as Bradford was sacked 5 times for a total loss of 37 yards off of those 5 sacks by the Redskins defense. Look at the penalties. The Redskins were penalized 10 times for 110 penalty yards, and the Eagles were penalized 8 times for 72 penalty yards. And the Eagles lost both times they fumbled, whereas the Redskins fumbled twice but only lost it once. And we look at in the red zone, the Redskins converted 2 of 4 red zone trips, whereas the Eagles just 1 for 2, both 50% in the red zone. We look at the time of possession. It was more than double in favor of Washington. They had the ball for 41 minutes and 8 seconds, and Philadelphia had the ball for just 18 minutes, 52 seconds. Just see that that fast-paced offense is not working. It's getting their team off the field quick, and it's keeping their defense on the field. Just saw Washington, they were committed to the run, even though, Kirk Cousins threw the ball 46 times, but even still, they continued to run the ball, as they ran the ball 32 times. And, they a lot more than the Eagles ran the ball, as the Eagles only ran the ball 16 times. So the Eagles not really committed to, or actually, was it 17 times? Not committed to the run at all. Actually, 18 times. Excuse me. But they only passed it 28 times, so they had the ball a lot less. They ran a lot less plays. They might run those plays quick, but then you don't get those first downs, and when you don't convert on third down, you're going to be turning the ball over on downs, and your defense is going to be on the field a lot. And so the Redskins are looking pretty good at 2-2. The East is definitely an interesting division. Saw earlier the Giants won. It'll be interesting to see what happens with the Cowboys on Sunday Night Football, to where things shape up at the end of the day. But the Washington Redskins are looking pretty good, especially on defense, getting after the quarterback. 5 sacks for their defense, as they've got a pretty good pass rush. Kirk Cousins protected the ball, and that was the difference in this game, is they were not turning it over. They had the 1 turnover versus 2 turnovers for the Eagles, and the commitment to the run, keeping their defense off the field, keeping their defense fresh. And down the stretch, Kirk Cousins with that 15-play drive, as they went 90 yards from their own 10-yard line all the way down 90 yards to score with less than half a minute left. It was a very impressive drive there by Kirk Cousins. So it was quite the game. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. Definitely interested to read your thoughts and opinions. Thank you very much for listening. It's greatly appreciated. I hope you had a good day and had a great weekend and enjoyed all the sports.